Hello everyone, it is March 17th, 2019. This video is going to touch on the political world in a way that I think once you watch it, you're going to have a completely different impression of the politics that you've seen around you, and you will probably be very inclined to never vote again or have anything to do with it. So much of what you see on this record here is a conveyance of what is going on in the world right now. I found this in my basement. This was something that kind of came to me about a year ago. It was left by someone who used to live here in this building. And I put it down after looking at it. I saw it again recently, picked it up, and I realized I understood so much that was being conveyed here. It is literally the plan of the enemy. It is a satanic inversion of a Bible verse, which I'm going to show you, and we'll get on with the video. Okay, this is the verse. This is Matthew 24, verse 8. But all these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs. All these are the beginning of sorrows. This is direct reference to the tribulation, the end of the world. What you see on the record from the 60s, it's a orange record. It's actually an original with a lot of information even on the back that I'll show later. You can see it's the satanic inversion of this Bible verse. It's saying, hitting birth, hallelujah. It's a rejoicing for the those that understand what these symbols mean. This is about reaping souls. So we're going to go on from here, and I'm going to show you piece by piece what this record is showing. If you've been watching my series, you know what this means. You understand that 33 is very important. It's the number I bring up again and again, as well as the number 13 in the Bible. This is the number for the enemy of God. This also has to do with the 33rd parallel on earth, which is the location in which the Nephilim, the Watchers, came to the earth and bred the Nephilim. And this symbol here is a symbol that is also used in the Catholic Church. You can see right here we've got a symbol that is not a cross. This doesn't extend down. So what are you looking at here? You're looking actually at the Maltese cross, which is Assyrian in origin. I brought this up in a video that I'm going to have to reboot again because something seems to be wrong with my channel and it has been partially disabled, but I'll get that up as soon as I can. This is Signs and Symbols of Freemasonry. This was written, I believe, in the late 60s, early 70s, and you can see here what we've got going on. We've got basically a Buddha. You've got a crescent moon, which I think we all know that that is also involved in another religion, and we also have the what people would call the devil's claw. This is a sign that's been used a long time. This is not a trendy sign that is just being used in rock and roll. This goes back many centuries and to other cultures. This is an old Chinese statue, and you can see right here what you've got going on. You've got the devil's claw right there. The Bible says the meaning of the dragon is serpent worship in Babylon. Satan, also known as the devil, is an entity in the Abrahamic religions. Satan appears as a great red dragon. Now we have the crescent moon right here. This is going to be some symbology I'm going to bring up later on in the video, the two pillars, and you again have the all-seeing eye. The Book of Enoch was supposedly removed out of the Catholic Bible about 500 years ago during the time of the Reformation because they did not want the information that is in that book out to the general public. It was just recently found again in the Dead Sea Scrolls back in, I believe it was 1946. And there also was another version of it that had been I think in the last 3-4 centuries had been circulating around in Ethiopia. Anyway, the book is attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, which describes a book of fallen angels called the Grigori, Watchers, who mated with humans and produced a race of giants called the Nephilim. I haven't done a video on this. I know enough about this now. I've seen people walk up to massive footprints. They're all over the world. They've done video. You can see strange things. You'll see people in the Philippines that will put flowers around these footprints and they worship them. They're in mud, but they've been solidified and fossilized, and these things are 25 feet long sometimes. Absolutely insane. So here we've got a skull, not anything like anything I saw when I was in college. We saw the Neanderthal skulls. This one is clearly something completely different. This matches the ornamentation of the caps that we see in the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. I brought this up what those are. Those are not gems. Okay, we've got Akhenaten again, Nefertiti. We've got the solar disk here. I have another one of these hieroglyphs that I recently saw. It's these children later on, and this is where this is going to get interesting, watching their development. But they found recently that skull binding is something that has been obviously been used in African villages for centuries. But however, in this case, they're finding that these things were like this in utero, that they found basically babies that had been born, their skulls were this shape. This is not something that was created. This is genetic. So what are we looking at closely when we look at these two figures here? We're seeing something that has absolutely unrealistic human proportions. We have babies that are behaving in ways that children would not behave if they were human, and in poses that are not realistic for the size. We also have the serpent right here. Now we also have what looks like a breast here. We also have this figure over here. Now, this is supposed to be Akhenaten. This is supposed to be Nefertiti. So you're going to think that this is male and this is female. Now, let's take a close look at what we got going on here on this next hieroglyph. This is another one. This is further in the evolution of this family. And when we go in and we take a closer look, this is not going to be an anatomy class that I'm doing here, but as you can see, this child is developing in one direction here, but it looks to me like it is also developing another direction here. And we also have what looks to me like a breast here, and we also have something that seems to be budding here. So we have what appears also now on Akhenaten, looks either like it's just, I won't say this is strapped down, but there clearly is something going on here. Plus, I also showed a statue that is in a museum of Akhenaten, which clearly had what I would almost call childbearing hips. So we have, again, the all-seeing eye, the 13 steps of the Illuminati pyramid with the all-seeing eye. Now, we've got another hieroglyph right here where we have three carvings. We have a 1, 2, 3. Now, all these look feminine to me, at least from what we're looking at the top here. We see female development, but again, we saw this here. And then we also have this countered. Now, this is where this gets fascinating, because we've got the 13th sign of the zodiac, which also the 13th constellation, which NASA just announced is official because it has now appeared over the horizon. Why NASA has anything to do with constellations is a mystery to me, but because to me a star is a star. But NASA seemed important enough that if you want to look this up, you can find that they have discussed and announced this is now part of the official constellations. We have 13 now. So what you're looking at here, you've got a star. You have two serpents in the lap of what is clearly a hermaphrodite. You have something in the lap here. I don't think we have to go into any explanation as to what that is. And we also have breasts. So we also, now when we look over at the 13th sign of the zodiac, you have something very interesting going on here. You've got the same symbology. You've got the star, you've got the two snakes, and you also have, this is clearly Egyptian as well. This is Egyptian wings. Now, this I found online, and we're looking again at the same thing. We're looking at, there's something going on in his lap. I'm not going to go into, you can look there. You can see what's going on. You got breasts. You've also got this hand pose again, which interestingly enough, you saw the Pope making. But down here, this is where it's so very subtle. Now, this thing is sitting on the world, but there's something going on right here. And I saw this little tiny foot sticking out. And I, sure enough, looked up to see what a little sheep would look like, and that is the hoof of a sheep. So we've got the 13th sign of the zodiac. We have 33. So we've got these two together, and in numbers in the Bible, we have those two numbers together. Here's the verse. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. Now, in Rome, we have the 13 obelisks of Rome. Now, it's strange that this is supposedly a Christian religion, and Christ was Jewish, And the Jewish faith, Christ's Father in heaven is Yahweh. He's the Hebrew God. And he delivered his people out of Egypt. So it's very odd that this thing is in the heart and center of the Vatican courtyard. Revelation chapter 13. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. This gets into, again, what people don't like, but they think numerology is a bad thing. This is asking you, it's telling you to engage numbers, because numbers are embedded everywhere within the Bible. This is not gematria. This is not satanic. It's right there in front of you, just as well as that number is. 1 Kings, the weight of gold that came to Solomon. The weight of the gold that Solomon received yearly was 666 talents. This is God telling us something about this man. And I will tell you, I've read Proverbs. There's a book called The Song of Songs or The Song of Solomon. Same thing, where you read this book and you realize you're looking at something, there's something very wrong with it. It's basically biblical porn. It's about an Egyptian woman with her goat hair and her goat herds, and she becomes enticed by the king and wants to be basically ushered into his bedchamber. This is one of the two books in the Bible that does not mention Yahweh at all. And interestingly enough, too, he married an Egyptian woman. He started out very wise, but when you start reading what this woman, as she's being described throughout this book, anywhere else in the Bible, you would hear this woman being described as a whore. So you got to reconcile that there's something very wrong. God is again sending a signal that something terrible went on with Solomon. He started out wise, but he did not end up that way. Solomon engaged in black magic. Now, this is called the Seal of Solomon, the Great Seal. You can see something is clearly very wrong here. This thing just sends off vibes immediately. You've got his dark reflection looking back at him. So you're getting an as above, so below paradigm. You have the Assyrian Maltese cross up here. This is not a Christian cross. Solomon was not Christian because Solomon lived many, many centuries before Christ walked the earth. And of course, he's embracing his own hands here. You've got a crossing of color. So you have white down below, you have the black above. This is basically merging with hell. That's what this whole thing is symbolizing. It's the merging of as above, so below. There's something else in that I will show here in just a little bit. This is another on the record. It says abracadabra. Again, it's about magic. Now, I found this online. I just looked up Solomon's ring. In the Bible, it talks about Solomon's temple. If you get into alternate writings that the Jewish people understand and others do as well, there's always been talk that, Solomon apparently was given rings by God, and they were able to summon jinn, which are demons, and he made the second temple using demons, because I guess manpower was short. Now, if you read anything about God's first temple that he had the Israelis erect while they were out in the 40 years out in the desert, he was very specific as to who could actually even touch that tent and what people would do, what roles, because it was all about purification. So it's just absolutely a farce to think that Solomon would ever be able to build a temple with demons and God would find that acceptable. But what are you looking at right here? I mean, does this not scream witchcraft? All of this looks completely demonic to me. And again, what do we got going on here with this symbol? We've got the symbol, this is supposed to be the Star of David. We've got, again, the five-sided pentagram. This is witchcraft. It's so clear what you're looking at. Then this is not Orthodox Christianity. If you're Christian or Jewish, your alarm bell should be going off by now. The Star of David is only known to be involved with the Jewish faith for the last 4 centuries. You ask most Jewish people, they're going to have no understanding of where that star came from. It has absolutely nothing to do with King David. It is Masonic, with even more ancient origins. So we've got this carving, and you've got a goat god that's superimposed over this. This is basically, you're seeing two things here. You saw the abracadabra, you saw that was an inverted triangle, and you also now see the pyramid right here. When you impose those two things on top of each other, you get basically the Seal of Solomon. Seal of Solomon, you've got the inverted star, and you've got the all-seeing eye. You've got right here a Masonic apron with the all-seeing eye. And we also have, again, what we see on top of our $1 bill. We have the pyramids, all-seeing eye. We have the Masonic handshake. Plenty of people who are familiar with the occult know so much more than those in the Jewish or Christian faith with regard to the symbols that are all around us. Now, this is what gets kind of hilarious because some of the most common people understand what most people that are dedicated to their faiths don't have any understanding of. We've got here the Eye of Horus, Star of David, earring studs. Now, this is like saying Jews for Hitler. It's hilarious. The Eye of Horus star having anything to do with Hitler or with David is basically talking about the pyramid. Eye of Horus, Star of David, right to the point. Let's peer a bit further. Again, let's follow the symbols. Now, this is the hierarchy of the Roman Empire, Catholic Church. Many of these churches that were built centuries ago incorporated the all-seeing eye. We've got one here, Church of St. Anne's in Budapest, Hungary, and we've got right up here the all-seeing eye. This is one that was built in South America, Divina Provincia, and you've got right here up in the cornice the all-seeing eye. And you go into this church, and here's some of the artwork displayed. Now, anyone who reads the Bible knows what God has said about actually making any kind of graven image. This includes pictures. You're not supposed to ever do this. And, of course, you got a triangle behind him, and I am sure they're going to try to play off that would be something to do with a Trinity, which is a word that is not used in the Bible for a specific reason. Now, another picture. So much wrong with this, I don't even know where to start. You got the men in the back seat here. Apparently, he's the one that died on the cross, but it really doesn't matter. It's all about her. Again, what do you see going on here with the front of her outfit? This is not a cross. This is a Syrian again. There's not the extension that would have gone into the ground. This has absolutely nothing to do with Yeshua Jesus Christ, and this is not our Father in heaven. And this is a false representation of Christ. At one point, though, the church, they were attempting to merge subtly these two things together. They've gotten much more brazen over the centuries. We've got here, again, a Catholic church, and we've got the all-seeing eye up at the top. And here we have yet another one in Europe. Same thing going on. A lot of times, too, if you look at, like, again, you look at so many of the statues, you'll see statues with women's breasts sticking out. There's absolutely, the Bible's so clear about what this is all about. And you got one of their priests messing around with his outfit here, but you can see what's going on in the background. And here's one wearing what is called the Paschal Cross. This has absolutely, again, nothing to do with Christianity. If you look at what the Paschal Cross stands for, that came from the Catholic Church, and that has a completely alternate meaning. And again, we've got what we've got going on up here. This is just kind of creepy, frankly. I wouldn't want that thing looking down on me. And we've got the halo. There's no mention in the Bible about angels having halos. Where did this symbol come from? What is a ring doing around anyone's head? This has everything to do with Saturn worship, though. That's what this is about. Saturn worship is Satan worship. We've got the ring, the solar disk again, which if you understand the Jewish faith and Christ and his people, the Jewish people who were led out of Egypt, they respect the moon and the constellations. It's not about solar worship on any level, and it's not about moon worship either. But it's to pull you off of this because this has ancient origins that have absolutely nothing to do with Christianity or the Jewish faith. So what do you have here? You've got IHS. Now, we've got an old coin from 1616. We've got the all-seeing eye. We've got IHS here, and we also have a phoenix. Isis, Horus, Set. And this is what gets really fascinating. If you take what was shown on that, was shown with the Baphomet, but if you look here and you activate with an inverted triangle of the pyramid, you will activate the letters on the this signage that's on the back of your dollar bill. This goes M-A-S-O-N. It activates Mason. Here we have an emblem on a Masonic lodge. We've got the wings. These are Egyptian wings. The winged sun is a symbol associated with divinity, royalty, and power in ancient Near East Egypt. We've got, this came out, I think this was April of just this last year. It was gifts being given to participants of the Unite to Cure Vatican Conference, which aims to unite people without prejudice, to improve human health globally. Speakers included Deepak Chopra. Okay, these people have absolutely nothing to do with Christianity at all, if you look into who Deepak Chopra is. But you look at what they were actually handing out here. You've got this. These were little bracelets being handed out to men and women. You got a bracelet here with a meditating eye, and you get a little eyeball on this one too. This is the audience hall. I've shown this in another video too, from the Dome of St. Peter's, showing the photovoltaic panels that were on the roof, probably put in 2011, because these were not available back when this was built. So they're showing them on the top. But going inside, this was the audience hall under its construction in Vatican City back in 1970. The inside of it, and that statue, which I've highlighted in the past, which I'm going to just show here again in a second, a little bit about it. But I brought this up in the other video. What I showed this anatomy was connected to. And this crazy hair on the side, when you look at this at a certain angle. I saw this. This looks modern. Again, it looks modern, but it makes no sense from a standpoint of looking at the hair on the one side. This hair here, if we're looking at this big old lop here, and this hair was blowing, this hair should be completely covering his face and over here as well. So it looks like he's got some sort of a weird wedge haircut on one side. It's done this way for a reason, because everything is about perception and angle. So you've got shadows here. You've got all this light coming in. You look at this thing from an angle, you bifurcate the head, and you've got something very interesting developing here. So I went online, I looked at Jurassic Park photos, and I found what I was looking for. And I mean, we're down, we got the eyeball, we've got the mouth, we've got even a nostril. I mean, this thing is a dead ringer. And now we've got Strong's Hebrew. This is the concordance. The Hebrew language is numerical. Seraph, we know the cherubim and seraphim from the old Christian songs. Seraph means serpent. So this is one order of angel. We can call angels what we want to call them. A lot of people cannot reconcile. What I am trying to do in my series is try to make people understand that what we hear about, that people see in the skies, and more and more people are seeing by the day, there is no such thing as aliens. It's what you want to perceive, what you want to call it, but we're looking at what is most people would call a demon, or you might want to call it an alien. Here we've got this. I think it's kind of funny. All of a sudden we begin to see two things taking shape here. Two reptilian eyes staring at you. And it's so obvious what you're looking at here, complete with the fangs. So we've come full circle again. We've got the 13 obelisks of Rome. It's Egypt. Now we've got the serpent of Genesis. Here's inside a Masonic lodge. This is undergoing one of their bizarre initiations. I've seen Pink, the singer. She literally did a performance where out in the middle of the stage, she had some people doing this to her. They were doing literally a Masonic initiation for her out on stage in front of the public. In the background, you can see the two pillars again, and you see these two, what most people would call those the Star of David. I'm going to go into this. By the time I get to the fourth or fifth part of this series, you're going to know exactly what those mean and the reason why there's two. We've got here, this looks to me like this is from sometime around the 20s, maybe the 30s. You've got, again, the pillars, which are dual for a reason. We know about two towers, don't we? So there's two pillars, and we also have the Masonic eye. So it appears we have two major world religions, Judaism and Christianity, embedded within this organization. The flag of Israel was adopted on October 28, 1948, 5 months after the establishment of the State of Israel. It depicts a blue hexagram on a white background. The hierarchy of the Roman Empire Catholic Church, page 44. All saying I symbol in the St. Jean-Baptiste Abbey Church. They have a plan, and it involves all your leaders worldwide. Time to peer into a glass darkly. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop it right here, and I'm going to get into the political leaders in this world and what they're really about. And this is where I'm going to take off into pictures where a picture does say 1,000 words. So this will complete itself in the next couple videos, but we're going to get on to politics.